Hello, my name is Stefano, and I'll be doing my speech too over the tobacco industry. And then this is my keyword outline, as well as my index cards as well. Okay, so how does the tobacco industry prey on the youth in our society? So the tobacco industry does this by basically making a bunch of advertisements that make smoking look like it's a cool trend. They do this and then they specifically formulate like the ad so that it can specifically target like the youth in our society, specifically like teenagers, so 13 till basically 19 years old. And then we'll be looking at the many perspectives of the major empire that is the tobacco industry from multiple stakeholders' perspectives. One stakeholder perspective would be a doctor's perspective on how bad tobacco use is and how their perspective on the tobacco industry is. Second would be the perspective of a parent, so a parent who has been an ex-smoker or has seen their children smoking. Third stakeholder perspective is going to be from the tobacco industry itself. So it's good to have, a kind of healthy mix of all the perspectives and everyone have an equal right to give their opinion on the situation or the controversial topic. So basically the tobacco industry is regulated, by the government and policies and, all these acts and policies that basically keep, try to keep the advertisement to a minimum and then the child exposure to tobacco to a minimum as well. The first perspective, like I said, is going to be a doctor's perspective. So doctors typically do not, recommend that you smoke. It is, not a good habit to take. They are in opposition of smoking and the tobacco industry because of the various illnesses that they can cause at a young age to children, especially, like cancer or, breathing problems and all these other illnesses that they want you to avoid. Okay, and then the doctors do want more regulation for tobacco. They want the more regulation so that they don't see these more cases in their hospitals of cancer and illnesses like that sort. So according to Lawrence Dayton, medical director, in his 2010 article about tobacco production regulation, he is basically wanting to educate the public and ask for more regulation, as well as asking for more doctors to give their opinion on the subject matter of tobacco industry. So basically he wants more doctors to give their perspective in order to educate the population about why the tobacco industry is, not a good industry to get into or not a good industry to promote by smoking. And then, so the next perspective we'll be looking at will basically be the perspective of a parent. So parents, are either past smokers and then they want better for their children and better for the future of other children. They don't want others to walk the same path they did and become a smoker and have to deal with the illnesses, such as the ex-smoker that I'm going to be talking about right now is going to be Brian. So Brian is an ex-smoker from an article in 1999 written by Sue Landry. Basically, the article is about him talking about his experiences with tobacco and then the harmful effects of tobacco. He unfortunately passed back in 1999 of cancer due to constant smoking from the age of 13. He is a parent of two, so a daughter and a son. He basically wanted to leave a story. The article is basically his legacy and his story, wanting to tell children and future generations like myself right now not to smoke. And then in one of the articles by Sue Landry, she basically states that he doesn't want others to be the first to pick up the cigarette and basically start smoking just like he did. He is aware of the dangers of it, and he wants others to see his story as, a caution or a warning sign not to develop smoking habits. In the article, Sue Landry also states a quote from his deathbed, basically saying that he doesn't want his children to pick up smoking like he did. He wants better for his children, and he is aware that he has seen his daughter pick up a cigarette, and that's what he doesn't want. He doesn't want children to pick up the habit of smoking, which in turn promotes, the tobacco industry and what they're all about. So, like I said, he did pass away back in 1999. I know the article is basically from the 1999. Right now we're in 2020, but it's still relevant because we are still seeing issues of the tobacco industry in society just as much as we were back then. And then Sue Landry's article is basically, like I said, a legacy and an homage to Brian and what he wanted to point out to society and to future children that do not smoke, do not support the tobacco industry. As an ex-smoker, he doesn't want others to follow the same path he did. And then the last stakeholder perspective we'll be looking at will be the tobacco industry. Like I said, every stakeholder and every person has an opinion in every controversial topic, the good and the bad. We must basically review, like I said, the good and the bad to better formulate, an idea in opposition of the topic. So for the tobacco industry, the CEO of Juul, which his last name is Burns, he basically states in the 2019 article written by Tony Dokoupil, he basically states that the tobacco industry didn't intend to basically target children for their main source of business or main source of income. It's just the way it ended up happening. It's basically, that's like he said, that's basically the way it ended up happening. They weren't intended, their original objective was not to promote smoking in children. It was basically to promote their product, to all ages, not just children, but it ended up just being a major advertisement dedicated to children. Also, in the 2019 article by Tony Dokoupil by the CBS News, the CEO of Juul did say that he doesn't promote smoking in his own family. He doesn't want his children to develop smoking, so he does understand and empathize the awareness that the tobacco industry isn't the greatest. He sympathizes with people who have been negatively impacted by smoking and the children that are currently smoking. So that's the perspective of the tobacco industry. They didn't originally intend to promote it to children, but that's just the way it happens. He states that it's business, and he has to also provide for his family as well, even though the way he provides isn't the most positive for society. So, in conclusion, we have to see the sides of every story, the good and the bad. There's also two sides to the same story. One side being the tobacco industry promoting tobacco use in children, and the other side being doctors and parents' perspectives on smoking not being the best. There are going to be the controversy of many topics, especially like the tobacco industry, is that there is going to be the good and the bad. And in conclusion, smoking isn't the best as viewed from doctors, parents, and from the tobacco industry, even though they are promoting their product. Thank you.